Hello everyone, this is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cruel and Beautiful, Rabbit Hole, and King Dio. With the release of Psychonauts 2 this past Tuesday, I've been spending a little bit of time playing it. I'm about 4 hours in, and I'm about ready to stop. This is an underwhelming, middling sequel. That's about what I expected from Tim Schafer, from Double Fine, from these SJWs, because I know, everyone who seriously cares about video games knows that the Western video game industry has declined. They simply aren't capable of producing good games, and Psychonauts 2 really is no exception. The best thing I can say about Psychonauts 2 is that there are some aspects from the original that carry over. You see a lot of the same characters who retain their original personalities for the most part, who retain their voice actors for the most part, and they're kind of utilized in interesting ways that's a little bit different than the original. I love the characters, right? Like, I like seeing these guys again. I like seeing them be more involved with the plot. I like having conversations with Sasha and Mila and those people. But overwhelmingly, I find myself disinterested in the plot, in the goings-ons at Psychonauts HQ. I dislike the new characters. Dislike is a bit of a strong word, a bit of a weak word, actually. I fucking cannot stand them. I cannot even begin to tell you just how many problems I'm having with these new characters, with their personalities, their terrible Tumblr-esque designs, their implementation in the plot, and the weird plot holes that don't seem to be implemented well from the first game. There's been too many to count. I kind of wish I stopped playing while I was playing it, so I could go on rants about it. Because I was streaming it, right? I was streaming this thing, and there were a lot of sections where I just noticed these things that don't make a whole lot of sense. For example, the most recent of which, Raz's family, right? The game in general is pretty terrible, but Raz's family is awesome. I fucking love all of them. They're great. They actually feel like they're involved. They could have been in the original game. Great characters. Standout members of the cast, especially compared to the Psychonaut people, who are awful. Okay, Raz's family. They're awesome. Okay? But their new lore, their background, their personalities, their implementation, the plot, their characters, they don't make any sense in the context of the original game. I think, for example, a good example is Raz's dad, right? The plot twist in the original game is that, Raz kind of builds up his dad as being, this major antagonistic force, that, he doesn't like his dad. Raz is always, adamantly saying this, oh, man, my dad hates psychics. My dad. Specifically that. He doesn't mention his mom. He doesn't mention his siblings. In fact, I think the implication in the original is that his mother is dead. Am I incorrect in saying that? I'm going to have to, replay the original, but try to look at all the extra scenes and see. But the impression I got was that the mother was dead or not around, or that it was the father, right? That was implied to be the head of the household and the reason why Raz ran away from home, right? The psychic thing. And in this one, at the end of Psychonauts 1, it's revealed that Augustus, Raz's father, is actually a psychic himself, and he actually comes in and helps Raz defeat the final boss, who is, of course, a merger of Oleander's father and his own. They sort of merge into this hybrid sort of psychological character. Really good plot twist, right? Really good way to resolve the story. Raz's father is a cool guy, in spite of everything that Raz thinks about him, right? But the thing is, with the sequel, with the way they're portraying these characters, Augustus is portrayed as not knowing anything about psychics at all. It plays up the entire thing as if the being psychic is new to him. It's he's repressed being psychic, and he has no idea how it works. You can find him in the campgrounds working on his pyrokinesis and stuff like that. He can't even set things on fire right now. He's practicing his psychic abilities. which seems to go. Well, for one thing, that seems to be in conflict with what we saw from the last game, right? Which he helped you defeat the final boss, right? He came into your mind. He came into like the scrambled mind. Like he had some kind of developed powers, right? They established that. But another thing is that like the way it's the mom, like Donatella, who seems to be like very adamantly against psychics, right? Who's like shitting on him all the time for being psychic and like wanting nothing to do with the lifestyle and stuff like that. It's a weird sort of like it's so out of nowhere. It's so like it's so ridiculous. The entire game is like that. Like it feels very poorly conceived in continuity with the original release. Like the original was implied to take place in the real world. You have like characters from like that are established to be from like Canada. I think there's a Russian guy, the bear hunting Russian. You have like references to like 50s Soviet, psycho isolation shit, like things like that, right? But in this one, like they seem to want to portray it as being like a fantasy world. Like they have this fictional country named Grolovia. They have like this league of super psychics. They have like this background shit that I think is straight up contradicts the original game in a lot of respects. Like Raz has like 5 or 6 siblings. Was there any implication that he had that many fucking siblings? Did he mention like his siblings at all in the original? Like no, he didn't. Like it was like it goes into conflict as to what happened in the original, but his siblings who are also psychic, who likely would have influenced his decision to run away from the circus. Like it's just Raz's family environment, as portrayed as it is in 2, is like extremely wholesome and charming, which is fine. But like the way they implement it, like the way I find it very difficult to believe that Raz went from how he was in 1 to this over the span of like a couple of days. Like this is the first time he's seen his family in the entire series, and like it's just I don't know. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like a lot of the new concepts, I think, are weirdly overused. For example, there's this mental connection thing. Like the game is like bursting with ideas, but does not use them very well. For example, like early on, you sort of meet this bitch, Agent Forsyth, who sucks. Like she is the absolute worst, the lesser head of the Psychonauts. Like they already established that Lily's dad was the Psychonaut head, so they sort of introduced this chick for this one, and she sucks. Like she is the absolute worst. She sucks at her job. She's not a good agent. She's not good at handling situations or children or Raz. Like she literally fails at everything she does, and yet somehow she's meant to be this huge deal who can make these ridiculous decisions like regarding Raz, treats him like shit, shits all over him, and has the audacity to try and pretend that like, oh man, I'm a moral authority. I'm protecting these children. Bullshit. Fuck her. Okay, so I was going off about the mental connections, but I really need to throw that out there. Like Forsyth sucks. The interns suck. They don't need to be in the plot. Like I legit would have been happy if Raz's family were the only new characters. Okay, fuck everyone else. Psychonauts HQ sucks. You don't need these random NPCs standing around. Oh yeah, the game's bizarre problems. Right. That's I think one of the big things that kills it, because from a gameplay perspective, I thought when I first played this that it was very, very, very much improved of the original. Right, because the controls didn't feel as stiff, the jumps were quicker, the attacks were quicker, there were more combat situation. There are actual enemies in this game. It feels as opposed to just random things that just charge at you. There's more going on, right? There's gameplay wise, but you'll notice when you're playing it, the level design is worse. It's not as interesting. The animation isn't as fluid. The cutscene direction is bad. When you play the original, when you from the very moment you open up that opening cutscene and you see the campfire, and you have Coach Oleander giving that speech about you need to get tough or die, and then the camera pans around to see that he's talking to a bunch of kids. Like, crazy good stuff, right? Great stuff to like set the mood, to set like the setting, to establish like a lot of these characters. Like Lily's there, like Dugan, Coach Oleander, like Sasha 9, Mila, like Raz himself. Great way to set up the characters. In 2, like it's all over the fucking place. Like there was a sequence, like, there's so much skippable content. Like, for example, you're supposed to apparently have this conversation with this rat, and I keep jumping from topic to topic. You're supposed to... There have been times when I'm playing this game, and, like, Raz acts like he's spoken to characters that you've never seen before. Like, he talks with this rat at some point, like, that lives in... Psychonauts HQ as if he's seen it before, which isn't the case. I didn't fucking trigger that cutscene. Apparently, like, you're supposed to speak to Lizzie, and she'll introduce you to the rat, but I didn't do that, and as a result, like, I just don't know this plot-critical information. This rat is apparently going around, like, hanging out with psychics, like, just... Like, there are characters that are related to characters in the first game, like, Dugan's grandfather is in this, like, his sister is in this, who's somehow even more autistic than he is. Like, just like, what? Like, I don't understand this. Like, the interns in general are just awful. Like, just unbelievably awful human beings. Unbelievably awful characters in general. Like, they have no reason to be there. They all suck. I hate them all. Hate them all. Wish they were all gone. Okay. I was going into the gameplay section. The cutscene direction, I suppose I was getting at. I keep jumping back and forth. Okay, so the cutscene direction. There have been these weird cases where, like, a cutscene plays out, but it kind of skips. Like, the animation doesn't seem fluid. It goes around. Like, the jokes aren't established very well. They're not told very well. Like, it really does feel like they ran out of money or time, because, like, so much of, like, what they're doing with the animation just does not feel as good as the original when it comes to, like, the cutscenes and stuff like that. Like, there's a scene early on where, like, you're in the original state, when you're in the first level, and, like, Sasha is, like, walking. Like, he's walking, like, all cool, like, and then, like, this magic psychic door sort of, like, falls down behind him and almost crushes him, but he just walks past it. Like, it's supposed... I'm not sure if, like, that was... It looks weird. There's something... I'm not sure if that was supposed to be a joke or making him look cool and badass, because, like... There was something about it that just looked off to me. Like, it looked low budget. It looked unfinished. And there are just all these weird instances like that. Like, the game feels unfinished. Like, I had the game crash on me, like, right before I was introduced to Raz's awesome family, right? You can see this all on stream. Like, I talk about a lot of this. Like, there's a section where, like, you're trying to infiltrate a hotel, right? You're in a stealth section. And yet you're walking past all these NPCs who are just standing around doing nothing. These terrible-looking NPCs that are sitting around doing nothing. Like, it's awful. Like, it's not well executed at all. Like, the level design isn't good. The pacing isn't good. The mechanics are either overutilized or not utilized enough. Because, like, there's this new feature called mental connections. I mentioned this earlier, where you go into someone's mind and sort of, like, have them associate ideas with other ideas to get them to, like, come to radically different conclusions. And it sounds interesting, and it seems like a weird sort of... It seems like a really interesting thing to sort of introduce to the game, right? It's a new power that allows you to, like, influence people's decisions. But the way it's implemented here is just whack. Like, this is a really good example of how poor, like, the storytelling in this game is. So you immediately get to Psychonauts HQ. You get to your first lesson with your instructor, Forsyth, who sucks. She immediately tells you that, like, oh yeah, I'm not going to teach you shit. I'm going to have Lizzie do it, who also sucks, and I'm just going to leave you in my mind and allow you to do whatever I want, whatever you want. Don't worry, I'm a trained psychonaut, so nothing bad is going to happen. So, like, immediately these kids bully you into, like, using your powers to, like, go deeper into Forsyth's mind and change her opinions about, like, the mission that Sasha and Mila are about to go on. So what you do is that you go in there and you sort of make her obsessed with the mission is at this hotel, this casino hotel that the antagonists were staying at for whatever reason. So you go into her mind and just are like, okay, I'm gonna have her associate risk with money. And what that ends up doing is that it makes her like obsessed with fucking gambling. Like it gives her this like crazy gambling addiction that has nothing to do with her background, nothing to do with her personality, nothing to do with like her character at all. It's just something that you forced her to do. Like keep in mind, she explicitly said that like you wouldn't be able to do this because she's a trained psychonaut. She knows what she's doing. But you go ahead and do it anyway. And so like it ends up working, doing what you wanted to do, like having her take you on the mission, but she's only going to gamble. Like she's not invested in the mission at all, and somehow like nobody notices this, nobody brings it up. Raz doesn't discuss this until like things start to go really wrong. And so during this plot critical mission, when it comes to exposing like the motives of the antagonists and like their hideaway and stuff like that, you go into like this woman's mind to fix this problem that you yourself caused. You know how weird that is to have the game like kind of establish this like essential conflict, like the central core, like, oh, there's a mole in the Psychonauts, and then like just go on this detour where you have to deal with this stupid bitch and her the mental problem that you caused, the gambling addiction that you caused. Like it's not a good storyline. It's not interesting. Like the character sucks. I hated every moment of it, and it lasted like a good long while. It was longer, I think, than the average level in the original Psychonauts, and the levels are like a lot longer in this game, but they're way less interesting as a result. Like there's no like going through them really quickly and then like just moving on to the next thing. Like in the original, you went to like Coach Oleander's mind. You got a taste for his personality. You went, Sasha's mind, Milla's line. Like all of them are like radically different. And then you went to like the asylum and got to deal with like people who are like legitimately insane and having to deal with like their problems and stuff like that. And you really got a wide taste of like the problems that a psychonaut could face in their like adventures into people's minds. Like having someone like deal with this crippling like anxiety and stuff like that. Like dealing with like a plague, dealing with playing a game of chess against Napoleon. Like interesting, funny stuff. Unique stuff. Being Godzilla. You don't get that in this game. Like. I don't find the levels you've played like nearly as interesting or compelling as the first. Like I was thinking when I played the original that like I thought a lot of the early stages weren't as interesting as I remembered, like on repeat playthroughs, but they were a lot better than this. Like at least they were different, Like Raz was a likable character. That's another thing that I think a lot of people aren't talking about. I've been going for 20 minutes. That's another thing people aren't talking about right now, because I don't think anyone is playing this game. I looked at the trophies. Like legit, like 7% of players have gotten to where I am. It's pretty disheartening. Nobody's playing this shit. So, I'm playing Psychonauts 2, and I noticed that like Raz has had his personality completely derailed, like completely. Like I love Raz, right? Like I could not gush. I could not stop gushing about how much I love Raz as a protagonist in the original Psychonauts. I think I said as much in my Psychonauts 1 video. Like I talked a little bit about this, but like Raz is like a super compelling, interesting, well-rounded out, fleshed, like compelling character with like an interesting background story, an interesting role in the plot. Interesting motivations, well executed, like interesting relationships with other characters. Like Raz is a great protagonist, one of my all-time favorites from like from that era of video games. Like I just loved him. Like he's a great character, like wonderful. Like his relationship with Lily was really compelling. Like it was charming and fun. Loved the original Psychonauts. Loved Raz in the original Psychonauts. In this one, he's a little bitch. Like, he sucks. Like, he's letting himself get bullied by these fucking retards. Like, he's letting Forsyth push him around. Like, he's not, like... He's doing all this crazy shit, but nobody is giving him any credit for it. Like, nobody's, like, giving him any respect at all. He's getting in, like, these ridiculous situations that he shouldn't get in. Like, it doesn't feel like it's stopping. Like, it just keeps going with this nonsense. Like, portraying him as if, like, he's somehow incompetent when, really, you know, if Agent Forsyth is any occasion, like, he's probably already the best Psychonaut there is. Like, Sasha didn't do shit when it came to, like, the fucking Oleander situation. Mila didn't do shit. Like, they came at the end. Like, it took Ford Cruller coming in to, like, to have him fight. Like, with that giant chunk of titanium strapped to his back. Like, it took Ford Cruller to, like, to come in to deal with that situation, right? Like, ugh. Like, I don't understand how they fucked up Raz's character specifically so hard. And they seem to have done the same with Lily, too. Like, Lily seems a lot more obnoxious than she used to be. Like, in the original, I love Lily. Lily's, like, adorable. Really like the character in the original. But in this one, like, she's shitting on you all the time. Like, the game is, like, questioning your relationship, which is fucking retarded. Like, it's, it was kind of established you were... I think the game establishes you're together by the end of... Raz and Lily are together by the end of Psychonauts 1, but I don't know. I don't want to trust my memory on that. There have been a lot of things that, like, I feel like might be plot holes, but I haven't really commented on them. Like, I'm mostly talking about the things that I know are plot holes. The things that just don't make any sense to me. Like, and there are a lot. There have been a lot of instances of that. Like, I just... Like, all in all, the game really does remind me of how I feel about Bayonetta 2. It feels like a lazy, phoned-in sequel from people who don't really understand what made the original game work. Well, the same dev team who can't really do what they did with the original again, right? Like, you have to... Either you keep everything the same and just kind of, like, make it feel rehashed and samey, or you change stuff and you just... you change what's already perfect, right? In Bayonetta 2's case, they really trivialized the combat and kind of didn't give it nearly the same amount of replay value the original had. Like, it feels a lot less, it's a lot easier and lost a lot of its impact. The bosses aren't as good. There's a lot of reasons to not like Bayonetta 2, is what I'm saying. Psychonauts 2, it feels the same way to me. It feels like the same kind of just lazy, just... phoned in, just not nearly as good as it really should have been. A lot like Kingdom Hearts 3, a lot like Beautiful Joe 2, a lot like Bayonetta 2, a lot like people on stream were comparing it to No More. People in my chat were comparing it to No More Heroes 2. No More Heroes 2 is better than this. Like, I shit on No More Heroes 2 all the time, believe me. But, like, you know, that's in context of, like, being not as good as Travis Strikes Again or No More Heroes 1. Psychonauts 2 is worse than No More Heroes 2. It's worse than Bayonetta 2. It's worse than, you know, a good chunk of the games I've talked about. You know, Beautiful Joe 2. Like, honestly, like, if you're a fan of the original, like I am, I say very strongly that you should skip this one. Like, don't give Tim Schafer your money. Don't give Microsoft your money. Don't pay attention to it. Like, the game just isn't worth playing. Like, if you're curious about, like, how it plays out, how it turned out, just watch a Let's Play. Like, just watch a Let's Play of, like, just watch, like, Raz's family's introduction. Like, that's the only positive experience I think I had throughout this entire thing, is just seeing Raz's family, who, again, are admittedly awesome. For the most part, though, like, I just see this contrived plot. I just see this lack of interesting ideas. Like, there are some minor improvements in the platforming and, like, the interface and, like, things like that. Like, there are moments where I get excited. Like, usually when it gives you perspective on makes callbacks to the original game, but, like, I don't know, when you have to, like, rely on what the original game did instead of something new, like, that's how you know you're out of style. Like, you're not cool anymore. You don't have what it takes to make something new and interesting. And I think that's what's happening to Double Fine. That's what happened to Tim Schafer. That's what happened to, like, Western video game companies as a whole. They just can't do it anymore.
They don't have the talent, they don't have the passion, they don't have the ability. Like, they're never going to put out anything like the original Psychonauts ever again. And that's kind of sad in a way, but personally, there are other games out there. Like, the original Psychonauts still exists. It's still special. It still, like, holds a place in my heart. I still love it. Like, this video. Like, how much time did I spend, like, talking up how much I love the original? How much I love Raz? How much I love, like, the world, the environment, like, the ideas they put forth, just everything they did in the original. If anything, I think playing this has only made me love the original more. As much as I despise Psychonauts 2, in the end, I don't even really mind that much, because I still have the original. I still have other games to play, other audiobooks to listen to, actually. It's difficult for me to be upset about it, because in the end, I really wasn't expecting that much to begin with. In a way, I suppose you could say I'm moving on with my life. I have no interest going forward in Double Fine, Tim Schafer, or any future Psychonauts projects.